There is a reason Apple's editing aesthetic is so universally popular. It is designed to be completely frictionless for your brain to digest. That clean minimalist look actually influences how we perceive the value of what we're watching. And whether you're an editor trying to level up your own videos, or you're just curious about how Apple actually pulls this off, the reality is, it's not as complex as it may seem. It's just a highly consistent, repeatable template. Once you know how to build it, you can use it forever. So now that we're in CapCut, first of all, you want to import the background that you're going to use. It could be anything, but to get that Apple aesthetic, I've got a plain color gradient background. When Apple adds backgrounds into their videos, they're always a gradient of a color. It makes the text feel like it's floating. So now we're going to import the text. Just press text over here, add text here. If you want to get that true Apple aesthetic, you can keep the text white, and later on I'll show you how to make it contrast with the white background. So for the fonts, if you press on the text, then up at the top over here, if you go to text, basic, you'll have all your options here. So if you go to fonts here, press that. I'm going to show you guys a few fonts that you can use to capture this Apple aesthetic. Starting off with Helvetic New, something like this. You can see the font is quite Apple-like and it's quite minimal. Another font that you can add is Montserrat, a very basic font, but as you can see, it works quite well for that Apple aesthetic. Another one is Sophia Pro. As you can see, a lot of these fonts do look similar, and that's because the Apple aesthetic remains very consistent throughout all their content. For this example, I'm just going to stick with the Sophia Pro Bold font. Now I'm going to show you guys how to make this text contrast with the white background. So if you go to text and then basic and scroll down to shadow, if you just press that, this is the basic shadow preset, but we're going to want to edit this a little bit. As you can see over here, you have all these options for shadows: opacity, blurriness, distance, angle, all different editing options for the shadow. So for the color, we want to keep it black. Opacity, you want to turn this down a little bit. Apple's aesthetic is always minimal and you don't want super bold stuff. So if you just take it down to 50, as you can see, if I turn blurriness down a little bit, it's like that. So this is what we've got so far. So moving on to the animations, a lot of cheap editing animations use a lot of effects and a very harsh sound effects for these animations, but Apple, when they do it, they're very deliberate with their animations and they make the text interact with each other. Like, the text is real and it's not just plastered on to the background. If I just go down here, press a text, go up to the top, and then next to text you'll see animations. Just press that, and then as you can see, there's a few options here. You got in, you got out, and you got loop. We're just going to look at in and out animations. If we're going for the Apple aesthetic, we want to go for the very basic animations. I have a few starred here. So for example, Apple might use a blur animation, and they always tend to extend the animation out to make it slow and deliberate. So if I just put this to 1 second and not 0.5, then if I turn this to full screen, you'll see that it just fades in there. This is one of the best animations that you can use for the Apple aesthetic, and it's called slide up. It's applied to 1 second, and to add that little bit of depth to the animation, what you can do is you can add very subtle keyframes. So I just take this to the start, and then if you go to text, go to basic, scroll down, there's all these different options here. Scale's the one that we're going to be looking at. So if you just turn this down to around 60, make sure your playhead is at the very start of the text. So if I just press add keyframe here, as you can see, the keyframe pops up here. Move this along, it finishes around here. So if I turn this back up to 100, I'm going to make this a little bit more subtle. So if I just turn this scale here to around 85, so it's not as aggressive, as you can see, the animation looks a lot smoother. But what you always want to do with keyframes is just add a quick ease in and add an ease out here. So that's kind of the aesthetic that we're looking for. Then if I just pull this all the way back to about here, I'm going to show you guys how to add some basic out animations for your Apple text. So just simple blur out would work fine. Definitely a fade out. And just to emphasize the importance of dragging out the duration of the animation, it is so important. And another little bonus tip, just click this text here and then right click it and then just click copy, go to the start, just paste. If you click on the text, and then go over here to the top and just press text and basic. So as you can see, there's two words here. If I delete Apple, so if I just delete aesthetic, so as you can see, there's two separate text blocks here for the animations, and a brilliant way to make the text feel like it's more dynamic and interacting with the other text. It could be either text block, but I'm just going to click the aesthetic one for this example. And then instead of doing the slide up, I'm going to go with zoom in. You can see the two aesthetics working really well together, and it makes everything feel a bit more dynamic. And then once you have these text templates, a simple way to make it reusable for the rest of the video that you're doing is go up to the top here, press text, and then add text. As you can see, this text here is back to the basics and is just the normal default text. But if I want this text aesthetic to apply to this text so I can use it as a template, what I need to do is just press either one of these and then right click and then click copy attributes. If I click on this text and then right click, then go to paste attributes, and as you can see, this option pops up here. You can select or not select certain things that you might want to add. So if I just add everything here and then click paste, as you can see, it's all applied to the default text. And this is how you create that Apple aesthetic and then apply it to every piece of text that you do. If you learned something today or this tutorial helped you apply something to your own editing, just hit a quick like and subscribe to get more content like this. But getting your text to look premium is only half the battle. If you want to learn how to apply auto tracking in CapCut and make text and stickers track onto subjects, then click the video at the top right and I'll see you over there.